I'm recording this on Monday morning. So I work at a tutoring center. It's mid-sized, and there's actually two campuses that I work at right now. So I come into contact with, I would say, at least 20 to 30 employees across both of these centers, hundreds of students. And one of the most dreadful things on a Monday morning isn't the work itself, actually. It's going into the office and everybody talking about our weekends and almost feeling obligated to share, because a lot of times when you share about those things, there's going to be something that somebody disagrees with, and it colors perception, right? You're not going to get fired just because you did something over the weekend, but it colors things, right? Let's face it, there are times where something happens at work where it could be interpreted in two different ways, and oftentimes your personal background will make or break how it's interpreted, right? I can attest myself. I worked for a university when I was in Seattle, and oftentimes the students were on the border of either getting a B or a C, or there's certain things at the project we could grade in two different ways. And oftentimes as much as I like to admit, as much as I don't want to admit that it happens, my coloring of the student can make or break that grade, right? And the same goes for performance evaluations. The same goes for whether or not we get promoted at our jobs. Unfortunately, it does, as much as we like to avoid it. And trust me, I really try hard to avoid it. But it's a very social position to be in, and So long story short, when I go into the office on Monday, it's very dreadful in that regard, not in the regard of work. My favorite time is in the middle of the day when I'm just busy working away and there's no time to talk, right? If I could teleport myself into the middle of a workday on a Monday, that would be perfect, right? Sometimes I even try to go there just 30 seconds before my shift starts just to avoid the awkwardness. I really do. I find myself going in there really late, sometimes rushing in traffic, just because I don't want to get there 5-10 minutes early and having to deal with this nonsense. I really don't. It ought to be almost thought of as a hostile working situation. It really is, because let's face it, humans judge by default, right? We have to work hard to not judge. Now, unfortunately, I have a couple students who have this quirk that drives me nuts. They don't listen to their body. They let society dictate. I have, I think, a 17 or 18-year-old girl that I'm tutoring in calculus, and I've only been working there for a month, and she's already broken up with a second boyfriend in 1 month, and she's worried about Halloween, how she's going to do Halloween without a guy in her life. And after I had heard this too many times, I finally got frustrated. I said, how about you listen to your body? And I got a little bit frustrated because I saw myself 10 years earlier in her, and I was frustrated at my former self, not at her, actually. Now, after I made that remark, my boss was very upset at me for bringing up sexual identity. He thought that was kind of inappropriate there. And after I heard my boss complain about me, then I thought to myself, what kind of society do we live in where we let society dictate not only how we teach our younger generation, but also drown out our listening to our own bodies? It just really frustrates me. You know, part of me almost wants to see another pandemic play out, right? Because during the pandemic, a lot of people got to actually compare side by side. Do they really need their significant other, or are they happy, or the other way around? I really think a good percentage of humans are closeted solosexuals. And the reason I think that is because, well, look at our birth rate, right? It is double the rate of our death rate. It tells me that almost 1 in 2 births wouldn't have happened naturally without the substrate of this conditioning of society. Look at our divorce rates, right? And just look at how many people actually realize they are solosexual. Anybody who's over, I would say, 40 who has never married, there's a good chance they are solosexual. Anybody who has multiple divorces, good chance, right? Unfortunately, the percentage of people who actually talk about being solosexual is small, right? It comes out in ways as getting divorced multiple times, as multiple breakups, as turbulence in relationships, right? That's how we express solosexuality, unfortunately, in our society, right? But I think we could. I think a lot of solosexuals could do great things if we did. Think about what if the cure for monkeypox or COVID-19 or cancer. What if the answer to nuclear energy was stuck in the head of somebody who is solosexual and doesn't get to express themselves, right? Actually, next month I celebrate Mary Curry's birthday. We're gonna, well, go watch my other videos. We're gonna attempt to corner the market in bismuth, which is used to make an element she discovered, polonium. I'd suspect she was solosexual as well. She got married at the time because that's what society told her to do, but she didn't marry again when she became widowed at a relatively young age, right? And she was 28 years old when she got married, which is quite old for their time, right? All right, anyway, think about all the great things that solosexuals could do if they were allowed to, right?